Steve, and welcome along to the this edition of the Rebel Wide Ball. Another interesting week in the world of current affairs, if you like, and of course it was the week that saw the inauguration of Joe Biden, Mio Joe, as the President of the United States of America. But I suppose for a lot of people it was the more important that it saw the end of Donald Trump, and certainly he was no great loss, I think, to American society. He was such a divisive character and instilled a lot of hatred within the American community. And I'm not too sure that Joe is the answer, but anyway, he has to be better than what was there. And he's a huge job in trying to unify the Americans. And when you consider that in a recent poll, was it that in excess of 75% of Republicans still believe that Donald Trump won the election. That's give or take over 50 million people that believe that Joe Biden shouldn't be the president. So that's a rather frightening scenario. Also, during the week, we saw the top earners list in RTE. My God, we was trying to get a number in that place. For those of you who are fans of Ryan Turbary, 9,500 a week. Handy shillings, isn't it? And if you want to be in the top 10, by the way, you want to be earning in excess of €3,700 a week. I met a guy early on who, he washes windows and that kind of caper. Works hard, I must say. But he asked a question. I presume he said that somebody else would give these guys this kind of money. Are they really worth it? Honestly, I don't understand it, but that's the scenario that exists. It was a rather sad week in terms of Irish education. When you consider the debacle that has ensued in terms of, children with additional and special learning needs not being able to get back to school. And I'm not too sure what happened here, because this time last week, John Boyle, the General Secretary of the INTO, seemed to be all at one with Norma Foley and their full commitment to opening the schools on this day, actually, phased opening today. That didn't happen. Why it didn't happen, I don't know. There was serious hope given to all concerned, particularly the parents, that this would take place. I don't know, did the webinar that was held earlier in the week, and I think NPHET and Ronan Glynn were involved in this in an effort to allay fears, but I think it caused more problems than it sorted, and as a result of that, relationships between the unions and the minister have gone downhill. Hopefully they can sort that one out, because there's no doubt, whatever about anything else, it would be both nice and desirable that schools would reopen, particularly for those children. So we'll be keeping you not a watching brief on that. Interesting to see where Michelle O'Neill, the deputy leader in Northern Ireland, agreed that the British Army should come in and help out in the fight against the virus, whether it is helping out with the vaccines or doing some other work that would be beneficial. And I think it's not too often that you've seen the setup in the north, like everything divides on green versus orange, and but on this occasion it's a welcome development, I think, from Michelle O'Neill. The vaccine rollout continues to, I suppose, give us hope in one sense, but it's causing some problems, because some sectors of the frontline workers reckon they're not far enough up the vaccination table. You have certain members of the fire brigade, for example. You have the dental community who feel that they have been left out of the loop. And then, of course, people that have underlying health conditions, some of them more serious than others. But Minister Donnelly, I think, announced earlier on that he was hoping that everybody would be vaccinated by the end of September, or at some stage in September, which obviously is to be greatly welcomed. In terms of what's happening in sport, well, we won't have anything happening in the world of Gaelic games, and I imagine that won't happen for a while. Remember that inter-county training was delayed until the end of this month. I think that's going to be delayed further, the way numbers are. And I mean, there is nobody out there now. I suppose there's no great desire and probably no great interest, if you're really honest about it, because the numbers are so high, and trying to get those down has to be paramount. So I wouldn't be surprised. The GA Central Council meet on Saturday week, and you could have further developments from that as regards changes. In terms of soccer, well, the Premier League, by God, it's the league that keeps on giving. Already this week alone, we're only Thursday, we've had 3 different leaders at the top of the table between Leicester City, Manchester City and Manchester United, courtesy of their victory last night. United are a bit of an enigma this particular season. I don't think very few people saw them as contenders, not even themselves, I would imagine. But, the fact that they're unbeaten, I think, away from home in the last 12 months, and since they lost to Arsenal back in November, they've picked up 33 points out of a possible 39, winning 10 and drawing 3. So they're at the top of the moment. City, though, with a game in hand, are in second place, and they are considered to be, by many, the favourites now to take this championship. What about the outgoing champions, Liverpool? Well, obviously, injuries to 2 key defenders has caused all sorts of problems for them, in that it has meant a relocation of players from maybe midfield back into defence, which probably has led to the drought in front of goal. I think they've gone 4 matches now without winning, 3 of them without scoring. They have a big game tonight against Burnley, and they will be obviously expected to win that. And both fans would be so disappointed. Needless to say, all the others would be happy enough for that not to happen. But it's FA Cup weekend this weekend, and again the big matches between Liverpool and Manchester United, and most people would hope that to be a better game than they played last Sunday in the league. That game goes on Sunday. Another big match that's happening on Saturday is Arsenal, who are actually doing okay now against Southampton, and a game that might have interest for some people that follow the fortunes of Conor Hourihane is the meeting of Swansea, his new club, after he moved from Aston Villa on a loan till the end of the season. They're playing Nottingham Forest, and I do know that some of you out there follow Forest. I suppose it goes back to the days of when Brian Clough was their charismatic manager, and also the fact that Roy Keane went there for a while. But in terms of Hourihane, he's, Bandon Born, has relations in a few parts of West Cork, particularly in Lip. But, as a young man, he went over there, Joy Sunderland, and then he moved on from there to Ipswich. Roy Keane was involved with those 2 clubs and wasn't making any great progress, and he took a courageous decision then to move down a couple of divisions, and he joined Plymouth Argyle. He captained them, and he moved on then from them to Barnsley, where he was elected captain again, which says something about the leadership qualities of him, and he won promotion with them before moving to Aston Villa, and won promotion also with Villa from the Championship up into the Premier League. Swansea, his new club, are now in second place. So were he to get promotion with Swansea, I think he'd have a unique record for any Irish player. I don't think would have ever, in terms of promotion, would have achieved that much. So that's going to be an interesting development for him. Huge weekend in rugby, particularly for those who follow the fortunes of Munster Rugby and Leinster. They meet in the, I suppose, rearranged Pro 12 game. It was meant to be on St. Stephen's Day, but because of a virus outbreak in Leinster, it was called off. Munster have been playing really well this season, but this is a huge match for them. I think they have met Leinster, I think, 8 occasions the last couple of years, only winning 1 of them. So it's a big match for them, and also the fact that the Irish team is going to be, the Irish panel is going to be selected for the upcoming Six Nations Championship. I would imagine next week that performances in this game will make a huge difference. And I do think this is one that really Munster have a great chance of winning. Now they'll have all their players back, albeit there's obviously a number of players. Joey Carberry's out injured. He's probably their main player in terms of an injury list. But it's on Saturday, about 7:30, I think it is. And also they've been interested on a number of these West Cork players who have broken into the Munster team. Maybe when some of the leading players were away at Ireland, and we have the Coombs cousins, Liam from Skibbereen, and Gavin, who's been absolutely outstanding. He's been part of each of the 10 victories for Munster, scoring 7 tries. He's from Church Cross, and actually later on this evening he will be presented with the penultimate West Cork Sports Star of the month for 2020. That'll be a Zoom presentation, as I said, a little bit later on. Then you have the Wycherley brothers. They'll be hoping for inclusion as well. Josh and Finian from Catekill. Dara Sweetum, not too sure that he'll go to make it, but I suppose he'd be hoping to get the Durham hoping to get onto the panel. And then you have Jack Crowley, who captured the headlines earlier in the week. Dennis Shannon, number 10. It was discovered that Ronan O'Gara, who has great admiration for this young player, sees a great future for him and wanted to bring him to La Rochelle, to his club in France, but Jack decided to stay with Munster, and somebody told me that when he was 13 years of age, playing in Bandon, he turned to his one of the coaches one day and asked a rather sensible question for a 13-year-old. Did the coach think they would be able to play for Ireland? And you can be fully assured that's his one ambition. And I suppose he knew by moving to France that that mightn't be the case, because of the fact that the IRFU are not inclined to select players that play abroad. A lot of talk in terms of contract talks that are going on with a lot of the Irish players, senior players, coming to the end of their present contract. So it'll be interesting to see what money they'll be offered. The IRFU is not short of a bob. They've sold land recently. They're going to get about 55 million from the rights of the Six Nations. So I think that there'll be an expectancy that they'll have to dish out the dosh if they want to hold these players. And also the fact that the Six Nations are, that's going to be taken over now. An equities company has bought into them. And that would mean that you can be sure that they'll go behind the paywall. And whereas these are free to air all along, these Six Nation games, it won't be long till you have to pay. As somebody said, you'll be asked for the long number if you want to watch some of these games. It was with tremendous sadness that we learned early in the week of the passing of Aidan Crimmins. He was Garda, based in Castonbear, Garda Station, and his passing has certainly caused a lot of sadness in the Beara Peninsula. For a while in his life, while stationed up in County Louth, he played and managed teams up in Kilkerky GA Club before he moved to the Beara Division. Moved to Adrigole Garda Station. That was subsequently closed, and then he moved into Castonbear, where he was a valued member of the Garda Síochána at that station. But I suppose he played with Adrigole. He actually played in one of those famous battles of Beara against Castonbear, I think in the replay in 2008. He went on to manage and coach their adult team, but he became an integral part of their community life down there, and he did huge work in that club, both from a coaching point of view and also getting involved in community events. They are a wonderful community in Adrigole, and Aidan played a big part in that. But he also was involved in coaching other schools, did some coaching in other schools throughout the division, and as well as coaching inside in the main secondary school in the Beara Peninsula, Beara Community School. He was much more than a coach in that school. He was a mentor to so many young people, and he gave full vent, if you like, to all the positive things that can happen from an excellent community guard. I suppose his coaching style, first of all, it was never about him, and he left a huge impression on so many people and in the Beara division. There is absolutely no doubt he will be greatly missed. He lived he built a house in Adrigole, and he got involved with Trafrask National School. And would you believe it that they took part in an All-Ireland and primary schools soccer competition? Now, I suppose it was divided up into different groups depending on the size of school. But imagine they got to 2 All-Ireland finals, both in the Aviva in 2008 and 2018 and 2019. My apologies, and Aidan was very much part of that success. So his influence on so many young people was awesome, to say the very least about it. He was well known in GA clubs in Kerry as well, including in Templenoe, where he was involved with training their intermediate team in 2016. They got to the intermediate final that year for the first time in 28 years, and they finished in a very positive third place in Division 1 of the league. He was an amazing character. As I said, he will be greatly missed by so many people. But in the short life that he lived, he did, more good than maybe most of us would do if we were around for 100 years. He was involved also with court development squads, and I know he had a huge influence over several young players there. Somebody suggested that he was the greatest imported court that ever came out from Kerry. And in this occasion, I think we're going to wholeheartedly agree. A book of condolences has opened in the hall in Adrigole today between 2:30 and 9 o'clock tonight, and it will also be there tomorrow. The book will be opened, and obviously people will file in and pay their respects in while complying with the restrictions and social distancing and all that. To his Garda colleagues, we extend our sympathies, as we do to the young and the not so young people of that wonderful division in Beara, the great peninsula. But his greatest loss obviously will be to his for his mother Eileen and his brother Sean Michael Bryan and Padraig. May his gentle soul rest in peace. So till the next time, slán and take care.